Okay, normally I don't do recordings, but for this game, it still won't let me live stream it, but that's okay. This video is going to be me doing kind of like, I don't want this review to be long, but I am going to be reviewing the live action How to Train Your Dragon, or giving my, my honest opinion on it. I think I've mentioned it in a couple of videos back, but I didn't do a full on video discussing it fully. I think it was my Minecraft video. I have to double check. I'm too lazy. Also, the music for this video is off. I am in the official Roblox game, and it does play the official soundtrack. I'm not looking to get copyrighted or whatever, and potentially having my video being muted, because that would be a waste of my time, and I would be severely annoyed. Anyway, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, beware spoilers, because first off, the live action literally is literally almost a play-by-play of the original movie back in 2010. If you haven't seen the original in 2010 and you decided to, just see the live action randomly, I'm sorry. You gotta no hate to the live action. I love the live action. I'll go more into detail. But go watch the animated trilogy. Go watch the TV shows as well. Riders of Berk, Defenders of Berk, Race to the Edge. Oh my God, Race to the Edge. Mwah. Best Netflix, show in my opinion. I'm very biased though. I rewatch that every time I can. Dawn of the Dragon Racers, just consume any How to Train Your Dragon content. Just trust me, you'll enjoy it. But that's why I'm not gonna put like a spoiler in this, because honestly, you know, there were some scenes taken out in the movie, which I will go into detail. The movie just, I think either it was today or yesterday, it was sometime this week that it came out finally that you can buy or rent it. Which I'm definitely gonna do that when I get the chance to get it, because honestly, and I'm gonna get the poster as well and all that. But back, going back to the review before I ramble on and on about my autistic love for How to Train Your Dragon in the franchise. For fuck's sakes, I got a tattoo of Toothless on my thigh recently. That's how much I love this series, like, you can drag this series away from my cold dead hand sort of deal. So when I saw the live action, me being a diehard How to Train Your Dragon fan, I admit the opening played. John Powell, you bloody genius, I love you. They kept him, and I'm so pleased. Immediately you could hear the soundtrack of This Is Berk. Or I'm sorry, they renamed it to This Is Real Berk. The titles of the new songs, or the songs being remade, is funny as hell. There's A Really Forbidden Friendship and Test Driving Toothless, instead of, the original where it was Forbidden Friendship and Test Drive and This Is Berk. They added to it, which I find funny. I really do. But immediately as soon as the soundtrack hit and I heard it, tears started like rolling down my face. And my mom, she turned to me and she goes, "Honey, seriously?" And I said, "Leave me alone to cry." And that was my first impression. Hearing the original soundtrack, mind you, it, has an extra flair to it for some of the, the music and whatnot, but it still hit hard. It brought me back to my child. I might start crying just thinking about it. I was listening to the soundtrack earlier today. It brought me back to my childhood, back to the year 2010 when I first saw that movie in theaters, and I fell in love with it. And oh my God, I am crying, guys. I'm sorry. Um, I fell in love with it, and hearing the soundtrack again hit me. Music really speaks to people. It's a way to connect with people, and just hearing it, just in awe. The actor who played Hiccup, he did amazing. Shout out to him. I really hope he continues his acting career, because he did amazing. Like I said, he did phenomenal. The rest of the kids also did really good as well. Having Gerald Butler come back to play Stoic was top tier. They did confirm that they are making the second movie into a live action for 2027. They better get, I think her name, Kate Blanchett, the voice actress for Volca, they better get her. I swear to God, they have to. Like, I will cry if I see her dressed up as Valka and they, sing Dancing in the Dreaming in the second movie. I will legitimately, like, thinking about it, I'm gonna tear up. But having those, having the kid actors, they did, like I said, they did amazing. And then, Gerald Butler, obviously amazing as well. Um, the designs for the dragons, I talked a bit about it in the Roblox game because obviously we knew what the designs were. Toothless, like I said, I will say, and even watching the movie, I looked at my mom jokingly and I said, why does he look like he took some Ozempic? For some reason, he's skinnier than his animated version. Um, his wings don't fully like close in. So the gap where his wings end to like that hind like tail flukes right there on his, I don't know how to describe those tail flukes right there. Let me land him. But so these right here, what I'm looking at right here, and his wing right here, it doesn't connect like it did with the animated. And that design change, it kind of irked me a bit. I mean, I could look past it, but it just, like I said, I feel like this movie they gave Toothless Ozempic and called it a day. The Gronkle in the movie, Meatlug, I love her. I I talk shit about Gronkles all the time, but I will literally fight someone to protect Meatlug. And in the movie, yeah, she kind of was ugly, but it was a cute ugly, if that makes sense. Scrunkly, or whatever the term is. I loved Meatlug. The hideous Zippleback, the serpentine behavior, seeing it on the big screen was amazing. They definitely looked at snakes for that. Seeing how they behaved. The Deadly Natter was just, Stormfly was pretty, as always. And how she moved as well. Like I said, once again, the big screen really showed in perspective of how she moved. And it just was very bird-like with how she moved. So they kept that from the animated movie. And finally, the monstrous nightmare. Holy hell. They did Hook Fang phenomenally. All right. Seeing him during they called it the Trial of Flames or Trial of Fire or something, when Hiccup goes into the kill ring, whatever, and he goes to prove that, oh yeah, not all dragons are bad, whatever, or dragons aren't good, or they're not bad, and we made a mistake, whatever. When the doors opened and all you saw was the fire, and then finally Hook Fang emerged, it looked as if he came out of hell itself. And I loved it. And they added it to the live action to really show how big these guys are. Because Hook Fang in the animated series, he's massive. I believe his wingspan is 80 feet. That's how big his wingspan is. But seeing it with an actual human actor and the CGI, they did phenomenal. Especially when they cut to it when you see Hiccup and all you see is the shadow of Hook Fang above him and it completely engulfed him. I felt scared for a minute. Like, I knew Hook Fang would be, oh, he's gonna be tamed by Snotlout, whatever. I knew that. But in the back of my head, I was like, if I were in Hiccup's shoes, I probably would have just had a heart attack on the spot. There's no way. I would have cried seeing that. But they did phenomenal with that as well, showing how big these dragons actually are compared to the humans. And that's why I also like the live action, because in the animated, it's hard to determine how big these guys actually are. You put them next to an actual person, CGI, they're huge. Really big. Speaking of dragons, seeing the rumble horn in the live action and the skrill as well. Oh, chef's kiss. Oh my god. When I recognized the skrill immediately when they went to go to the nest for the first time when Stoic set out. And I saw the skrills perched up there, and I told my mom, and my mom's like, what? She goes, what are those? And she's like, I haven't heard of them in the movies or whatever. And I'm like, that's because they're not really in the movies, they're in the TV shows. And I said, a skrill makes Toothless look like a pansy. I'm like, only a skrill can really go toe-to-toe with a Night Fury, Mom. I said, a skrill is faster than a Night Fury. It literally, don't get me wrong, I love Toothless, y'all. But a skrill can easily beat a Night Fury. Easily. And I told my mom that. She goes, holy shit. She goes, well, if I had that knowledge and I saw those things, I would have turned back. And I'm like, yeah, well, also the Skaldron too. You don't really see it per se, you just kind of see its back and you see its tail, but as soon as I saw a bit of its tail, I'm like, that's a Skaldron. I said, they are so cooked, literally and figuratively, they are done. I was happy to see some of the dragons from the TV shows making an appearance in the first movie, and also some of the, the TV, I already said it, TV show dragons and whatnot. It made me really happy seeing the diversity, seeing the skrills, the rumble horns, and the Skaldron as well. It just really brought a smile to my face. I liked how they added kind of like more of a Viking culture. Like they went really deep into like the Viking culture part of it too in certain parts. Well, with Gothi the Elder, her reading the bones as well and trying to determine whether or not they'll find the nest. Which I actually want someone who knows how to read bones. I want someone to actually look at that scene and see what it actually said, sort of deal. But I literally found that very interesting. The fact too that the Vikings, they all came from different parts of the world, and Stoic was saying it too, as well, that they came from different parts of the world. I think they name dropped the Silk Road, which very interesting, and I was like, holy hell, that kind of explains the timeline too of this, of the movie. Also, shout out to DreamWorks. They hired the woman that Stoic talks to, saying, oh, you killed a Zippleback, but you lost a leg. It's just a leg. She actually has a missing leg in real life, and she was very happy to be included in the movie, and she's Stoic's kind of like second in command or something. She's seen sitting or standing next to Stoic as well during the kill ring scene, and I really love that. Like, I love that little inclusion right there. That was awesome of DreamWorks to do. Also, fun fact, the director, he also is a Viking in the movie, and when Hiccup made the fat joke, he made the fat joke directed towards the director, because DreamWorks said, well, we can't make a fat joke in the movie, and Dean literally said, okay, but what if the joke is literally on me? And DreamWorks just shut up, because they couldn't say no, because the director literally put himself in that situation, because they weren't going to include it, and Dean is like, no, we're including it, put me in a Viking suit. So that was fun. So, like I said, I'm talking about all the good stuff first before I get onto the Red Death, they upped her size. I've seen comparisons. They made her a lot bigger, and that really scares me, because that makes me wonder how big the Bewilderbeast is going to be. Which, speaking of the Red Death and the Bewilderbeast, I think I had a flashback when the Red Death came out. John Powell, you scare me. They played the bagpipes, the beginning bagpipes of Drago's Bewilderbeast when he starts taking over Toothless. They played that when the Red Death came out of the mountain. I thought Stoic was about to die. I literally had chills down my spine. My eyes were wide, and I leaned forward in my seat, and I'm like, oh shit. It literally was hauntingly beautiful, and I cannot wait to see the second movie live action, just for the soundtrack alone. And oh my god, like, you guys have to, if you haven't listened to the soundtrack itself, because, sometimes people just watch the movie and they don't listen to the soundtrack, whatever. I mean, some of the soundtrack does hit, but some of it they miss. But re-listen to, I forget the title of the soundtrack when the Red Death comes out. I think it's Meeting the Queen is what it's called. But listen to that, and you can just hear the bagpipes at the beginning. Like I said, my heart was racing, and I was like, oh my god. I thought Stoic was gonna die, like, early. Like, they were gonna kill him off early, and I'm like, no, there's no way. Another thing, too, as well, with the parents, they name-dropped Volka in this movie. They name-dropped her, so that was also an interesting thing that they added. They name-dropped Volka with this movie. So that, that's a nice touch, because all of us, who have seen the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, we know who Volka is. We already know what's going to happen. We know how this story ends. Because it doesn't seem like they changed too much pivotal details. And now going to the cons of the movie. some of the adult actors, especially the one who played Gobber, his lines felt dull. It just felt very dull to me. I didn't care for it. Every time I saw him on screen, I didn't make like a bad face, I just kind of made a face. Like, it didn't feel right. Some of his lines felt forced. Some of them just felt very off to me. Just mainly with Gobber. There was one scene where the actor who played Fishlegs, where he even had like a scene where it just felt really awkward. Another scene that kind of made me just disinterested was when they were in the mess hall. I don't think it was the Great Hall. It didn't seem like the Great Hall. They were in the dining area, and Astrid and Hiccup had that conversation, and Hiccup immediately like shot off the bat with, maybe they're not as bad as we think they are, about the dragons to Astrid, and I'm like, that's I don't know. And then Astrid saying that she wanted to be chiefess, which, yeah, me too, honey. Me, girl boss, go for it, because Astrid has always been a girl boss. But in the first movie, she never insinuated that she wanted to be chiefess. I mean, obviously she ends up getting her wish because she marries Hiccup, but that's besides the point. It just felt off to me. It felt very odd to me, and then all that. It just, like I said, very weird. That scene was very weird, and I will admit, I dissociated during that part. It was not interesting to me whatsoever. I'm trying to think of what other scenes. Oh yeah, the lack of the terrible terror scene where Hiccup finds out that, hey, the dragons aren't fireproof from the inside, which was a very pivotal moment in defeating the Red Death. They did just come out with it. I shared it on my Discord. They did confirm that they had the scene ready, well, not really ready to go, but they animated some parts of it. They filmed parts already with the actor of Hiccup, Mason Thames. They filmed it, but they took it out because of time constraint or something of the sort. It definitely, I wouldn't say it was budget, because of the fact that the original animated movie, mind you, back in 2010, cost $165 million, and the live action was $150 million. Of course, times have changed, and money is, it's different nowadays. However, it still just felt odd to me that they cut it out. The movie is still quite long, but having that scene would have been it would have been nice to see it again. Because, once again, that's how Hiccup knows how to defeat the Red Death. So after Test Drive happened, I was waiting for that scene, and when it didn't show up, I was like, huh? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, okay. And then Hiccup defeated the Red Death the same way that he does in the animated, and I'm like, how would you know how to do that without the terrible terrors? And the director tried saying, oh, well, Hiccup just decided to go for it and test it out. And I'm like, that is a very shitty timing to test that out when literally something the size of God fucking Zilla is right behind you, about to swallow you whole, and you decide to go off on it on a hunch. Like, obviously, those who have watched the animated, we know that the Red Death, she literally chokes on the plasma blast and she blows up in the side of the mountain. We know this. However, if, like, this was somebody's first time watching it, bruh, I'm sorry. Like, that, I feel like if the movie wasn't too elongated, and I feel like having that scene back in again would have been a nice touch to see again. Because saying, oh, Hiccup just wanted to test out a theory or something doesn't sit right with me, because Hiccup is pretty smart. I don't think he would do that, especially at a pivotal point like that, because that's kind of like, buddy, what if that didn't work? Sort of thing. Like, interesting hypothesis. You want to back it up when you're in this thing's gullet, sort of deal. So that part kind of irritated me, but the boss fight was still good. My boyfriend, his complaint about it, which, I mean, it's not really my complaint, but I will say this was my boyfriend's complaint about the movie, at least with the boss fight, because he's watched the animated. He said the animated version, and I did a side-by-side to compare, and he was right. He goes, the animated fight with the Red Death, he goes, it was longer. He goes, this felt way too short, because I dragged him to see the live action, because I forced him to see the other movies. We saw, obviously the animated one at home, and we saw the first and second movie at home, and then when the third movie came out to theaters, I dragged him to see that, and he liked it too. Actually, fun fact, the third How to Train Your Dragon movie was his first How to Train Your Dragon movie that he saw, so I kind of watched it backwards with him. Not the best idea, but whatever. But that was his complaint about the movie. Other than that, he also liked it too. He enjoyed it. My mom also enjoyed it too. She really had no complaints. She wants to rewatch the animated though, to kind of compare it better, because she has not seen the animated in years. But I think that's the only like cons that I have about the movie. I can't think of anything else that I really didn't care for. The live action of it, like I said, I give it a 9 out of 10. Some of the adult actors, like I said, especially the one for Gobber, Nick Frost, no offense to him, he's probably a good actor in like other roles, but this role, it felt forced. A lot of the lines just did not hit, and that, same with certain scenes as well. Certain scenes, it felt like they were also forced too, and it didn't really hit. It didn't really make sense. But other than that, those are my only cons for it. Oh yeah, and the whole, missing the terrible terror scene, and Hiccup just, oh yeah, let's turn around and shoot a plasma blast in this big bitch's mouth and pray to God that we don't go down her stomach. That's another complaint. But other than that, movie 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 because of the fact of those like cons that I just listed. I will say it's a better live action than the Lilo and Stitch one. Don't get me wrong, I like the Lilo and Stitch live action, but I gave it like a 7 out of 10. Yeah. But I'm not here to talk about the Lilo and Stitch live action. We're here for How to Train Your Dragon. Which like I said, I'm literally gonna buy it on DVD. Y'all already know. I'm getting the poster, everything, the whole nine. Anything with How to Train Your Dragon I'm doing. And I will mention it right now. I've mentioned it prior in other live streams, but since this live stream is How to Train Your Dragon themed and all that, it's based around How to Train Your Dragon. When I go down to Florida in October, I will be posting pictures and posting videos of me going to Epic Universe and Isle of Berk. I will be doing food reviews with my friends. Some of them said that they would not want to be on camera, so that's fine. But I will ask certain people if they're okay with being on camera and potentially doing food reviews, because I am a very tiny person and I can't eat all that food. I also cannot have cheese, so it's gonna suck. But you will be seeing those videos popping up in late October, potentially even after the trip. I might post them. It really just depends. I'm also going to be doing, videos showing each individual item at the shops for each world in Epic Universe, showing the pricing and whatnot and all that good stuff. But I'm gonna be doing that when I'm down in Florida. Also, feel free to look at my community post if you do not have Discord, or if you have Discord and just haven't decided to join my Discord server yet. I will be posting pictures of the trip as well, whether it's, Epic Universe based or just in general Florida based. We also do plan on going to Gatorland, hopefully. And maybe St. Augustine, who knows. But like I said, more How to Train Your Dragon stuff coming in late October, and I might live stream, not this game, because this game they just added supposedly a flying challenge. They haven't really added much, and I can't really live stream this game, but I will probably be live streaming more of my Minecraft world, of my How to Train Your Dragon world. At some point, I gotta get back into Minecraft and just play it again, sort of thing. But we'll see. We will see. But anyway, that is my honest review of the live-action How to Train Your Dragon, and me rambling about How to Train Your Dragon in general. Are you guys in awe of my tism? But yeah, so I will see you all next time. Also, comment down below, for those who have seen the live-action and the animated movies, comment down below your pros and your cons for the live-action movie. I want to see everybody else's, honest opinions of what they liked about the live action and what they felt could have been fixed with the live action, because obviously everybody has different opinions. Some people I've talked with, they had the same opinions as I did. But until next time, I will see you all later. Bye.